All right, I believe we are now live, hopefully, if I've got everything working. Yeah, so welcome to another stream. Yeah, just in this stream, I just thought we can take a look at the vowels and control dials in Dubler. And yeah, so as usual, if anyone's here and has any questions or anything, you can stick them in the chat and I can do some demos, answer your questions. But yeah, apart from that, we're just going to be looking at the control dials in Dubler and how you can use them with your plugins and how to get more expressive. I'm just going to double check that this is all working properly first. I can see the chat and everything. Yeah, so in this, I've set up basically some instruments. I'm in Ableton again. I know I said last time on the last stream that we would do a different DAW, so I will definitely do that next time. I forgot about that, but next time we will do Logic or Pro Tools or whatever you guys want to see. But we'll do another Ableton stream, and yeah, but it all works the same because we're looking at MIDI mapping. There's nothing really different in this. I don't know if we're having technical problems. I'm just trying to see if I can see the playback properly. So give me a second. I mean, I'm going to continue. If not, I don't know if there's anyone even in the chat at the moment to say if it's working or not. Hold on. Let me have a look on my phone. See if I can see it properly. All right. Okay. I think it is working. I just can't see the preview for some reason. No worries. Well, right. Yeah, so we've got the form where people can submit questions as well. We've only not had many on there, so let me just have a quick look. I think there was only one really to answer, so for people who are watching back. Someone just basically asked about, do you have a rough estimate for when a software-only version could be released? And the answer basically to that is no. We don't have an estimate. I've said that before, well, we're quite a small team, and at the moment we're focusing on the desktop version and improving it and getting it really, well, as good as it can be. And then, you know, when we've got more time, we can start looking to other things such as software only. So right now what we're working on, I've mentioned before, but we're working on, say, like pitch at the moment, for example, and some new features and a few bits and bobs, which further down the line we can chat about. So that's our focus now. And then when we've moved on from that, we can start exploring other things. So we don't have an estimate at the moment, but further down the line, hopefully we'll be able to say when we start working on that project. Yeah, but I think that's it basically for those questions. Like I mentioned, I don't know if people have joined at all before, but if anyone who wasn't here, if you've got any questions or there's a demo you want to see, then you can just type it in the chat. I'll keep an eye on it, and yeah, and I'll try and answer whatever pops up. I'm just going to get the chat up on my phone, so when I move over to Ableton, I can still keep an eye on it. Right, okay. So, let me switch over quickly. I don't know if anyone's watching at the moment this live. Well, people who are watching back at the moment, it will just be a live recording of me playing an Ableton anyway. So yeah, let me switch over so you can see. Oh, that's a different video. Let me put. There you go, different angles. Right. So now you should hopefully be able to see Ableton and me and Dubler. So. Yeah, like I said, what we're going to take a look at today is control dials in Dubler. And so there's 4 control dials. I'm sure most of you will know some of this already, but they're split into the different vowels, R, E, U, and then the last control dial there is for the envelope. And basically what that means is that all these different control dials, hey Johnny, how's it going? Yeah, so all these control dials, let me move it so you can see them, will move based on how close you are to that vowel. So you'll see them move. None of this is triggered, is it? Let me turn it off. If I go I, U, E, You can see as I move between those three different vowels, they go up individually. And the envelope is intensity, so if I go, see as my voice got more intense there, that envelope went up. So yeah, those are those, you can use them control dials. What they're basically supposed to replicate is, say if you had a MIDI keyboard and they would have some knobs or control dials, you could, as you're playing something, you might be able to turn them. And so what we've done is these control dials enable you to do that same thing, but with your voice, obviously. So I guess we'll just chat about how those could fit in your workflow. Maybe I'll just give a few ideas of the different ways you can use them to get expressive. So I've got in Ableton, again, like I mentioned, stop me at any point if you want me to. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller, actually. I think I'm taking up too much space. Stop me if you've got any questions whilst I'm doing this, or if there's anything that doesn't make sense or whatever. But yeah, so, oh yeah, also I forgot to mention, so these 4 dials all have a CC number applied to them. If you don't know too much about like MIDI protocols and MIDI information, that is basically where the information is getting sent out to. So you'll see the envelope is on CC11, which is normally a CC number that is associated with like dynamics and velocities and things. So envelope is on that because it normally matches a lot of like the regular CC kind of protocols. The rest are on ones that are normally unassigned, but you can change them with a plus or minus. So I'll show you where that might be useful. So on this channel, what I've got set up here is some strings. So I'll start with like kind of acoustic instruments, and then we'll do some synths and stuff. So yeah, what I've got here is the sample modeling string solo and ensemble strings. Let me just start with this solo one here. So yeah, sample modeling are basically, there's this company we were chatting to recently, and they do these great sampling of like brass, so like trombones, trumpets, and also violins. And obviously there's loads of different things when it comes to playing a violin. It's not just notes that are being played, there's vibrato, there's intensity with your bow, there's lots of different things. And so what they've got going on in here is that each of those kind of different expressions and mappings are all put on CC dials that you could then, say if you had a breath controller MIDI controller, say you had just a keyboard with lots of CC dials, you can basically use these different things to get more expressive with your instrument. So if you can see here, say for example, dynamics is on CC11, which I mentioned before. So, let me turn this on, is this working? So you see that dial goes up because I've got that mapped already on CC11. This on CC11, so there's the envelope, and so you hear as I get more intense, the violin gets more intense. So that's just like the first simple one, and that is actually in itself already starts to get really expressive. Unless you've got a touch-sensitive MIDI keyboard, then you'll just get the same velocity. But with Dubler and using that, you can sort of do these quieter parts and then really come through if you want. So yeah, that's just a simple way straight away to start. Let's put it in minor instead of pentatonic. But then you can dive a bit deeper into that if you want. So also there's things like vibrato intensity. So it speaks for itself, how intense a vibrato is if you're playing on a violin. So that's on CC dial 3. Yeah. So I've got the E one, I've set that to 3. If you just have a normal profile open in Dubler, it's probably going to be something different. I think it should be 21 or 20. And either I could have changed it in Contact to just match that. I've been blessing around, so I've lost the point where I am with CC numbers, but I just set this to number 3 to match what's going on in here. And basically now if I sing these violins with like an R vowel, I'll just get a straight, as if there was no vibrato and you're just playing the notes straight. And then you'll hear, if I start introducing like E vowels, then I can start to make some more intense vibrato. And it's one of those things that then, whilst I'm coming up with a melody, I'm not just now thinking about pitch, but I can start to really get expressive. So if I give you an example like so you hear there's nothing really going on, it's pretty flat, and then if I start to do an E, yeah, so then using another vowel, I can start to make that idea a little bit more interesting, which is just a really fun way to do it. And then you can do the same, so I've stacked a bunch of different of these sample modeling things, and they can play together, and then say I just want what I've got on that violin, I've still got that vibrato intensity, and if I've, let me just, what have I got on the others? Yeah, so this on CC1, I'm going to change this one as well from CC3 to put it onto 1 as well, for example. And so then I can start to mix and match, and just with one thing with your voice in Dubler, I can have the rest saying at a flat rate, and then have a violin that's on top of that doing vibrato intensities with different vowels. So what you're hearing there is basically the violin, I'm going to turn these ones down so you can hear that, being able to get more expressive as I do the vowels, and the rest staying flat. It's a bit high. Let me turn the octave down. I am 2 octaves up. So you can see that moving as I'm doing that vowels. That sounds a little bit more realistic. It was too high pitched, wasn't it, before? Also, let me know if anything's too loud or too quiet, you want me to change anything. I sometimes watch these back and realise that I was talking well loud over it, or whatever. So yeah, that's in principle. So that's something that doesn't actually require any mapping, but that's based on if a plugin has CC dials already allocated to certain things, so you can dive in a bit and and basically just change the CC number within Dubler to match that. So that's on those plugins specifically, but there's other things, say for example, if, I'm just going to load in another contact thing. Actually, you know what, no. Let's move on to say synths, for example. So yeah, that's the way that you can do CC dials just with numbers. But then obviously another part of it is mapping. So each of these dials are MIDI mappable, which means any parameter, if I press Control M here, everything that lights up blue here in Ableton can be mapped to MIDI information. So I can use a dial to control any of those. And that also goes the same for synths. So if we move on from, say, like acoustic instruments, actually, I might have some mapping here as well. Yeah, let me delete everything. And we'll start from scratch. And then that way it'll be a better way to explain things. So, yeah, I've got a synth here. This is just SynthMaster 2. So SynthMaster, it still basically has a lot of the things that you'll see in Serum, Omnisphere, all these other synths. I'm just using this as an example because it's what I've got and know a bit. But all of these knobs and things that you can see twiddling around in here can be mapped. So you've got things like the filter up here, you've got the attack, decay, sustain and release down here, there's oscillators. And basically you can start weaving your vowels into the synth a bit, if that makes sense, and into the matrix, and using the vowels to get different sounds out as you're playing. So what I've done here, I've configured, just basically picked out a few of these that I want to control. So this one here, I've basically, well, let me show you what the synth sounds like just on its own. Oh, why does it keep going back to that one? Let me make sure I've not still got any mappings. Yeah, I thought that was still that. Yeah, so this is what the synth sounds just like on its own. Why does this keep going back to this channel? What's going on? Can't tell if that's my keyboard. Maybe if I delete that channel. Yeah, so this is just what the synth sounds like on its own. And what's going on here basically, so I can layer up effects here as well. So I've got this lo-fi one here, and I've just configured this slider here is basically the mix. So you can see that moving. So that's basically if I want to make it down to, you know, 8, kind of like a bit crusher, and just bit crush that sound. So you can sound if I got that. If you can hear if I've got that mix all the way up. It's just got like a bit crusher effect on it. So I've got that there. I've also got on here. This slider here is the resonance, so this is the filter. So all that's basically doing is just turning up the resonance on the filter that's on that synth, and that's on this one here. I see this cutoff is also, oh, that's on velocity. I'm going to change this because that might be on a separate one already. It's linked to a CC22 for some reason already. Oh, remove mid-link. That's me playing around before. Yeah, so I've got the resonance as well, and then also release slope. So the release slope is all the way up. Really long release. If it's all the way down, short release. So yeah, basically I can then assign those. I've just picked 3 there. You can pick whatever you want, but I can assign vowels to those different features. So I'm just going to do. Let me just do straight up. I'll do that bit crusher one on an R vowel. I'll do the resonance on an E vowel, and that release slope on an U. So not only is it just characteristics of the synth actual sound like the oscillators, but the attack and decay is something that I can use. So my vowel isn't actually controlling an extra loud sound or anything in particular, but it's just going to change how it responds to my voice a bit. So if I use an R vowel, what you should hear hopefully is that bit crusher effect goes up. Actually also, I'm going to I'm just going to lower that resonance. So these are the minimum and maximum values. Obviously, if the resonance is too high, you get that horrible screech. So if I lower that. So now if I use an R vowel, you can see that synth has this sound that's Is that too quiet for you guys, or is that right? So you hear it has that bit crushy effect. But if I, say, sing a melody, instead of an R vowel, use like an U vowel, I should have the smoother thing, and then also because I put it on the release slope, get longer drawn out notes that are then cleaner. So you hear, if I'm using an R, I get short, bit crushy sounds. If I use an U, get long, big, drawn out, synthy sounds. And so what I can use then, I'm just using one synth in my voice, but I'm starting to then get real differences that almost sound like 2 different synths, and I can change between them. And obviously that can all be recorded as well. And then yeah, I've also got resonance, so if I wanted to introduce a little bit of resonance, I can blend a bit of an E vowel. And then yeah, I basically get a bit more of a resonant sound with that synth. Yeah, so that's just an interesting way, hopefully, that you can basically have one synth, but based on the way you're making a sound and melody, get really different results, and hopefully maybe get a little bit more creative ideas out of it. No, that's like a quite big, long, drawn-out kind of synth, it's a bit reverby. But you can use that also with, so this is a massive synth. Yeah, so on this synth, this is more of like a whoopy, massive synth, if you like. It's trying to dry, so hopefully you can hear what's going on more. I'm going to delete this as well, I had this map before. So what I've got here is the LFO speed that's going on, which is basically, you know, the speed of that wobble. So if I've got it high, and something that's just simple, so that one was a bit more in-depth going in with that synth, but I can just really do something simple, like if I want to be able to control that LFO speed as I'm singing a melody, I can go, say I want the minimum to always be at around 50, which is pretty slow. Then I can keep that constant whoop, whoop, and then at any point if I want some more, it's more of like a, it adds a bit of human element to the, like recording an idea. So, so that's not necessarily something interesting in terms of my melody. I'm just doing some simple notes. But what I'm doing, I'm still using my voice to then just get expressive. That can be good for like live performance if you're working with something, or if you've got that idea and instead of drawing it in, it's maybe just a bit more of a natural way. I'll just show you what that looks like as well if you draw it in. So if I just record. So these are the MIDI notes that came in, they're just going up and down, but here, if I go to the MIDI control and then go on that effect, this is basically all the recorded points of that R's and U's that I was doing. Was that on 12 actually? Or maybe, yeah. And you can also edit this as well, so you know, same as anything else, it's MIDI information. If you want to go back afterwards, I can just do something like simplify and then move these points up and down as I please to maybe just sort of like fine tune what I was doing. But you can get the idea down and then fine tune it later. So yeah, that's again just something that's a little bit more interesting and just adds a little bit more character instead of just singing a melody and then fiddling around afterwards. I've just seen Audio Modeling's Camelot Public Beta 2 just came out. Yeah, so like I said, we spoke with audio modelling a bit because their plugins do sound really great, and yeah, they definitely have a good understanding of that like expression. So yeah, let us know how you get on with it with Dubler. And Synthmaster 2 is also solid. It's also very cheap as well, if I remember. But yeah, so another way, so that's how you can use vowels and control dials with sort of inside the plugins, if that makes sense. So going in with each of those bits like LFO speeds, attack and decays, and shortening them, and all these types of things. But obviously also something else you can do is use them with effects. So just reverbs, audio effects that you have in your DAW, or anything else. So what I've got here is, yeah, so no, let me move these out of here so I can explain it better. And then get rid of this. So this synth, again, before I start doing, let me just show you what it sounds like without all these things on. How do you train the MIDI to control that parameter in Ableton? Yeah, so all of this is done basically just via MIDI mapping. So if I want to control something, again, this isn't specific, well, this processes specific to Ableton, but it will be slightly different depending on your DAW, but it's fairly simple, where whenever you're in MIDI mapping mode in whatever DAW you're in, you select the thing you want to control, such as the on button here, and then back in Dubler you just hit map next to that vowel, and you'll see it'll pop up here and it'll be mapped. And then, as you can, like I said before, you control it. Also, these dials are based on how close you are to that vowel. So if I've got a pure R tone, it's just doing that one, and if I introduce others, then it will blend them. You can see them moving out. So yeah, but you can also check out our help stuff, which has in-depth things on how to MIDI map depending on what you're using. Yeah, so external effects. So this synth is, again, I've just picked something that's fairly long and drawn out so we can focus more on just the control dials. So this is just a drone that I can control the pitch of. And say, so I've got a tremolo here and a resonator and an EQ, and all those things together basically add up to change the sound quite a lot. So that's changed the sound quite a lot, and you can do something as simple. I'm just going to change the key of this back to penciling. So I could do something simple as map all of the on functions of each of these to, let's say, R, for example. And now if I sing something, basically that comes on as soon as I start hitting an R. So then as soon as I change that vowel, I can get the pop to come on. But you can also then, if you want to, let me get rid of this mapping. If you want to blend those things, you can get a little bit, not clever, but you can get a bit more in depth with it and say, I want all of these things. So I've got an EQ that takes away a lot of the mid and lows. I've got the resonator and the tremolator. So if I group all of these into audio effect rack and put this as wet, and basically create a dry and wet knob for them. Put this as dry, chain. And so basically what I can do is, if I've done this right, oh no, just the wet one. What I can do is all of those effects that I have, instead of say just having them pop on or off with as soon as I hit a vowel, I can map that wet and dry to macro 1. And then I can map that to a vowel, which is an R. And now all of those effects, instead of just having it come on immediately, if I sing something with a as I blend in the vowel, I can blend all of those different effects. So it's quite a drony sound to just show that idea, but yeah, that's a way you can then use external effects. You can have them come on and off with different vowels. You can blend them. So Cecina, a question here. When detecting vowels, how does the crossover between, say, an R and an U transition? Does detecting U immediately drop the R level to 0? I've experimented with this and can't quite tell. So it is something that is, because we say it's basically how true you are to that vowel, and it's something that isn't really easy to tell initially. So if I say have an R, an E, and an U, those three, in theory, should just be, an R would just be an R vowel all the way up. Just do an E and an E and an U and that. But because you can blend them, if I go like, as soon as I start to blend, yeah, the U will come up and the R will come down. and the same with the other ones. So then if I just then transition that, let me try and show you. So if I go, so you can see as the other one came in, yeah, the R came down until it's just the oo. Let me turn this off so you can just see it and not hear. So, so they kind of work like that. It's maybe a bit silly, just going ow, wow, wow, without any sense. But yeah, as one comes in, the other goes out, and it should be how true it is. It's one of those things as well as every aspect of Dubler. You know, we'll be working on it and listening to your feedback. So if there's something when you're using the vowels that you have an idea about how you'd want them to work, or I wish they did this, or I wish they worked like that, then please do drop them. You can drop feature requests, basically just, we've got a forum.vocally.co.uk, you can head over to there and just let us know on there. Yeah, any feedback's really, helps us build a better Dubler, as we carry on. I've just seen someone as well asking about their mic as well. If you're having problems with anything with Dubler, drop us a line at help.vocally.co.uk, letting us know your problem and describing what's going on. We're always happy to help. Where are we at? What is Dubler listening for when it's detecting vowels? So Dubler is listening for, well, literally the vowel sounds, like how you make those vowels. So it's able to hear if you're making a more of an R tone, and it's able to hear the difference if you make more of an oo tone. And that uses, I don't know, I'm not the developer, so I might say something wrong here, but there's some machine learning involved and some very clever things that I don't know about that basically able to pick those out. So if you said if you used an instrument, how would you access the vowels? You couldn't really, unless you had some way of maybe replicating a different timbre of that instrument that replicated an oo, but it's purely based on the voice. So unless you had a way of, say, I think a trumpet would probably just sound like an R vowel, wouldn't it, all the time, as a guess, to be honest. And maybe if you had a lower thing, you could try experiment, but it's just basically focused on the human voice and those different vowel sounds. The envelope as well is also something that's really useful. So that fourth control dial, which is regardless of sounds you're making, the harder or the more intense the sound is, that dial will go up. So you could use that with an instrument if you're playing around. You can see if I go, that envelope dial goes up. And it doesn't matter what sound you're using. And you can do that with your voice, or you can do something even simpler if you have the mic far away and bring it in. It goes up, however you want to use it. So that's just hopefully some cool ways that you can use, mapping. So, let's go a little bit more in depth. So we have that. Let's go back. I'll do another quick example, because we've done that with those two synths for a bit, and I'll show you some of those more acoustic instruments again. Instead of strings, we can do trombone or trumpet or something. So in contact, let's do. What do you guys think? Trombone or trumpet? What would you prefer? Let's do trumpet, actually. I feel like trumpets can get quite expressive. So yeah, this is sample modeling. Again, this is their trumpet one. And you'll see here it's saying CC11 not received yet, and the instrument will not work properly. And so CC11 is the envelope, is the intensity, and a lot of that works on based on that. So if I just all right. So straight away, just off the bat, without any particular mappings, because I've got CC11 on the intensity, I can do quiet little melodies. So that's off the bat, but if we want to get in depth, what have we got in the sound shaping? So again, vibrato intensity. This at the moment is on CC1. So if I change, let's change the E to CC1. If I introduce the vowel, E vowel into that, I, E, E, sounds a bit wobbly, doesn't it, on the trumpet there? But let's actually, instead of just doing a solo, let's get a whole unison. Let's layer up. Let's stick in a trumpet. We get trombones going as well. Let's put in a trombone and a bass trombone. Get these all receiving information from the same one. No, I didn't do actually, which is probably why that was acting weird. Set this to Dubler, dear me. Right, so so let's change the tunings of some of these as well. And we'll put the bass trombone down an octave. Cool. So that's just got the dynamics going. That was on CC1. Oh, you know what? I changed that to 12 at some point. There we go. Now it's working properly. So now it should actually hear the dynamics properly. There we go. That feels more expressive now straight away, doesn't it? Right. So yeah, all of the dynamics on these different things that I put in are 11. So, yeah, I've also got the vibrato on CC1, you'll be able to hear this properly now. So then I can add those little trills in. Can you do video using Dubler live on stage with main stage 3 to play saxophone? I do have main stage actually, I got it recently. I will have a play around with it. I haven't had too much time to go into it. But yeah, I'll have a mess around the main stage. I don't know if I will personally be live on stage doing it, but I can I can have a play around with main stage and maybe set up a live set with things like saxophone and things for sure. Yeah, I guess that is just a bit of a way. Hopefully that's given a bit of an insight into some different ways you can use the control dial. So a mix of going into your synths, maybe doing different vowels based on the ADSR in that synth or the filters, external audio effects, doing it with tremolos and reverbs, creating effect racks, EQs and things, or even, yeah, using some of these plugins like the audio sampling stuff that already has these expressive mappings and just having a play around. It's one of those things like someone was saying as well, it's hard to tell which one. Just have a play around with the control dials. It's one of those things that is a bit weird because you've never thought about vowel sounds when you're producing music within your DAW. It's definitely something that's new. So I would just recommend having a play around, experiment with it a bit and start to just, yeah, maybe just record a few things and see the ideas you have hopefully get a little bit more expanded and expressive. as you're using your vowels. Have you ever made your own synth using found sounds that can be triggered by MIDI notes? I've not made my own synth, but I've used different like recordings before and then put them into samplers and things. I do that quite often with, say, like drum racks, for example. So I'll start with a simple drum sound, have a play around, make your own drum kit, and use the MIDI to trigger that. But yeah, field recordings. There was actually, if you go to our IGTV, our Instagram TV, if you're on Instagram, basically we did, Spirit Studios Instagram TV actually. So we worked with Spirit Studios, who are a great studio up in Manchester, and they did a live stream with Dubler, and the guy, Left Field, I believe is his artist name, he used field recordings with Dubler and basically introduced his own sounds that he'd recorded using synths, and used Dubler with them. So yeah, at Spirit Studios, I believe, or if you just search Spirit Studios, their Instagram TV has a good video with that kind of thing on it. But I guess, hopefully that's a little bit of an idea on the control dials. As always, if there's anything in particular you want to see, then just let me know. You can put it in the comments, in our forum, wherever. I keep an eye on them all, and happy to do videos. Sorry, I'm just reading chat as we're going on. There's a bit of delay, so sorry if it takes a while. Can we route found audio into the Dubler software? Yeah, it's obviously not. Let me turn those off. Yeah, so it's not something that we, what we're aimed at is just the voice and in real time. But we've said this a few times. Our mic isn't a locking dongle, and you can put the audio input as whatever you like. So you can have an experiment for sure. If you had an audio routing software, say something like Soundflower or Sound Siphon is what I use, then you can stick a recording through Dubler and see what you get out. The results might vary quite a bit because obviously our algorithms and our software is trained to listen out and get the most accurate results from a live voice, from a human voice. But you could put stuff through there and see what it spits out. Some could be good, could be bad, but absolutely. Basically in Dubler, in the audio device settings here, oh my god, the input device has been... Well, I'm just going to put it as my MacBook microphone instead. For whatever reason, the Yeti, I think I changed something on my, when I was messing around with those settings. That's the bane of my life, audio routing and different mics and different sound devices and it all getting muddled up. This happens all the time. Right. This is the professionalism we're dealing with. This is me left alone in the office. I need to set things up properly and have it permanently. Right, there we go. Yeah, so we're back. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, I was wrapping things up there anyway. So repeat myself. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you want to say anything else. Make sure as well you can join our private group, Dubler Studio Kit Private Community, I think, on Facebook. And I'll also do some private group streams in there as well, just for the people in there. And yeah, you join us on our forum, forum.whatclear.co.uk. But yeah, sorry, I'm just seeing some of these messages. I keep seeing some of these pop up and they're just catching me right at the last second. How can I map different vocabular presets on a launchpad? So at the moment, you would need like MIDI input for that at the moment. And because we're just a standalone software, right now you wouldn't be able to change, say, the profiles. You'd have to do it just manually yourself within Dubler. But that's something we've had a lot of feedback on that already about ways to map and change things, say for a live performance, so you wouldn't have to go and click around. So we're definitely aware of those things, and we've got some ideas, and further down the line we've got a few different features and stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to introduce something that will integrate Dubler into live performances a bit more and have it interacting with launch pads or whatever. But yeah, no worries. Yeah, thanks very much for watching. We've got another live stream coming. This is our monthly one, but yeah, in a week or two there'll be another one in the private group. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you hopefully soon. Bye.